The International Labour Organization estimates that 10,000 children are trafficked each year. Every year, 300,000 children are taken from all around the world and sold by human traffickers as slaves. Hence, the need to sensitize ourselves on this evil act perpetrated by some unscrupulous elements. I am Olujo Kemosaku, saying welcome and thank you for always watching Let's Talk. Ms. Joy Agbegbe, CEO and founder, and Trafficking International, is my guest. Stay with us. Thank you so much for coming, Joy. It's nice having you here.
Thank you, Joker. Thank you so much. It's my pleasure.
All right. Like the topic says, child trafficking. What is child trafficking?
Child trafficking has been defined by the United Nations Protocol as the recruitment, transportation, harboring, or receipt of a child for the purpose of exploitation. So this definition has two sides. It has an act and it has a purpose. So the act in itself is recruiting the child or transporting the child or receiving the child, and the purpose is for exploitation, to exploit this child.
So how would you describe the magnitude of this dastardly act?
It's huge. The figures are alarming. Like you said, the International Labour Organization has estimated that at least 10,000 children are trafficked each year. And the thing with human trafficking and child trafficking specifically is that the figures, the statistics are not there to work with, because human trafficking is a crime that is done in hiding. It's hidden in plain sight. So it's hard to place those figures right there. So the numbers are way higher than that, but the estimate is 10,000 children each year, but the figures are way more than that, because trafficking is not something that we see. Traffickers, they try to do as whatever they can to hide their act. So it's hard to get the right numbers.
So where exactly, we know that the continents of the world, Asia, Africa, America, and the likes, where is this mostly common?
That's a really good question. That's a really good question. Child trafficking, although it's really common in Africa, more common in Africa than in so many other continents of the world, but at the same time, there's no single country of the world that is immune from human trafficking or child trafficking. There's no single country of the world. Statistically, about 40.3 million people are trafficked each year. And out of that 40.3 million people, 25% of those people are children. And child trafficking has been recorded in every country of the world, although it's more prevalent in some countries, like in some continents, like in Africa. But there's no single country of the world that is immune from this global disease called trafficking.
Wow, that's really mind-blowing. Now, can you explain ways by which traffickers get their victims?
Oh yes, that's the modes of recruitment in trafficking. They are enormous. We should also have in mind that these traffickers are really smart people. They are smart people. They are business people. Just like every businessman takes steps to protect their investments, traffickers also implement new ways and new methods to recruit their victims. That is why the fight against human trafficking must also be intensified, and more hands should come together to fight human trafficking, because traffickers are always coming up with new ways to recruit their victims. There are so many ways they could. In fact, in modern times right now, they even recruit through the internet. They recruit through the internet. They recruit through families. They recruit through friends. So it's a global disease, because these traffickers, they are so smart. Sometimes some children run away from home and they fall into the hands of traffickers on the streets. They recruit them right on the streets. They recruit them over the internet. They place out adverts. Some they recruit through so many ways. There's so many methods of recruitment. You just cannot tell at what point and where a child would fall into the hands of a trafficker.
While you were saying, I just want to quickly come in with this, so I won't miss out on that. You said they bring out posters or adverts.
That's correct.
Could you please speak further on that?
Yeah, sure. Over the internet, they place several adverts, but at first look, you're not even gonna, just an average person might not even know these are traffickers. Even Craigslist as a website, I think there's evidence that Craigslist has been used in the past to recruit children. So they are all over the internet, they're all over social media trying to recruit children.
Okay, let's quickly go on this break. When we come back, we continue from there. This is really heartbreaking, and you don't want to miss out on the remaining part of the show. Stay with us. Welcome back. The program is the Let's Talk on the Anti-Work, and I've been speaking with Miss Joy Agbebi. She is the CEO and founder of End Trafficking International, and we have been discussing the topic child trafficking. Yes, it's child trafficking, but trafficking is both young and old. But right now, our focus is on child trafficking. So stay with us as we continue on this ride. So thank you, Joy, once again. How can we prevent child trafficking?
If you want to get a solution to a problem, first you have to go to the root of that problem. So for you to effectively tackle the problem of child trafficking, we have to go back to the roots, to the cause. What's the cause of child trafficking? What's the cause of human trafficking in itself? And one of the root causes of child trafficking and human trafficking in general is poverty. It's poverty. When people don't have enough to eat, when they don't have enough to live on, they start to look for alternative means to get out of that situation. And then they fall into the hands of traffickers. Poverty is a root cause, is a major cause of child trafficking. A lot of poor families that live even below $1 in so many countries in Africa. And as a result, they push their children out there to go hawk. They push their children out there to go do forced begging, because that's a form of trafficking that is very prevalent in Africa, forced begging. We see that a lot in Nigeria, especially from the northern part of Nigeria. So that's directly connected to poverty and how much people are suffering. And then it directly affects these children. So that's the leading cause of child trafficking, poverty. And next to poverty is lack of education, because these children are supposed to be in school. So lack of education is also a huge factor that contributes to child trafficking. And in order for us to be able to curb this problem, then we have to also address the causes. So if the standard of life in these countries can be improved, if the government starts to do better, if they start to provide good schools for these children, then that's definitely going to reduce the menace. Migration is also a huge factor right there. Voluntary migration. Some people leave their countries and then go to some other third world countries, and then the children end up falling into the hands of traffickers. And there's something called the push factors and the pull factors in trafficking. In migration, the push factors are those factors that push people to leave their countries, and the pull factors are those factors that draw people into the better countries. For instance, in most of some of the African countries, the push factor right there is poverty, lack of basic amenities, lack of education. Like, it's just right there pushing people out. that no, we want a better life for our families, we want a better life for our children. And the developed world, right, that they have good roads, they have constant electricity, they have employment. Those are the pull factors. And for us to be able to efficiently control trafficking in children, because I can't say trafficking is, I don't really know if human trafficking can stop, but what we can do is try to reduce it and prevent it. Yes, prevention. We can prevent it. So that's it basically. So in order to prevent it, we have to provide education for children and just try to improve their everyday life.
Okay, so for the purpose of those who may not be aware of the enormity of child trafficking, please let us into what traffickers look for in their victims. Things like some things that could actually give them an opening into the person to be able to actually get the person trafficked.
Generally, traffickers and child traffickers, they look into the vulnerable population. They look into the vulnerable population, and that's why it's easier for them to recruit these particular people that they target. For instance, a child or a teenager who runs away from home, that's a vulnerable child right there. And that child has needs. So what do traffickers look at? They look at the need of that child and they provide that need. Once they provide that need, they start to bring in different control mechanisms to control the child. The child ran away from home, so the child needs a place to stay. So the trafficker comes in, I can help you, and starts grooming the child. Give the child a place to stay, sometimes introduce the children to drugs, and then they take it from there, and then they start controlling the children. And sometimes they use them, traffickers, child traffickers, they use children for different purposes. There's forced labor, there's sexual exploitation, there's forced begging, there's organ harvesting, there's child marriage. It's just so many purposes they use them for. They're child soldiers as well. So the traffickers, they look at the specific needs of those children and then come into it. They look at, they target the vulnerable population. They target people from group homes and people who really don't have, the children who don't really have those basic love and care of their parents, and they target those children. And sometimes let's not even ignore the fact that even true parents could be traffickers of their own children. We see a lot of those cases in Nigeria where parents even they send their children, some of their children, to live with relatives. To a child below 14 is not even supposed to work. But we see children of 8, 9, 10, especially female children, working as house helps. That's child trafficking right there. Their parents are aware of that situation. In fact, in most of those situations, their parents and relatives recruited them and gave them to a third party to work. And sometimes the salary that the children collect even go to the parents.
Yeah.
So let's not assume that these traffickers are some really big cartel working from somewhere in it. Sometimes that's the case. But sometimes they are right there on our nose. The family members, the parents, mother, father, they are the traffickers themselves.
That's really terrible. It's painful to hear such a thing. I can really feel that aspect of especially the parents. Yes, we know that poverty is a bastard. It could cause a whole lot of things, but I don't know why you would want to put your child into that kind of situation to go through that. There are also people that they basically sell these children to this particular group of people who now take these children for maids or helps in places, and they work themselves. They work 24 hours, and the only thing they get to gain is to eat, while the money that is being paid is also going back to the person who already paid their parents. I just pray that we can actually come out of this. I can feel it is really hurting, but we can't. The situation is just something that is not nice. Now, I just want to also look at it this way while you were talking about children, sex, and all. I want us to quickly digress into this kidnapping of a thing that because child trafficking, some their parents don't even know they were just taken, like you said. It's also a kidnap in another way, and they are being trafficked. Now, but those people that at gunpoint, banditry, take for instance Nigeria. Let's use Nigeria as a case study. I know there are other countries too that are also going through this kind of situation. Now the target is the schools. The first blow was girls from the Chibok girls. Afterwards, some other girls were taken and all. And we can imagine what the girls would have gone through in the hands of those people. What, in your own opinion, how can you juxtapose the child trafficking and this kind of trafficking in another way?
Yes, of course. And this takes us back to the definition. There's an act and there's a purpose. So the act in itself is the kidnapping. They're taking the child against their will, and the purpose is for exploitation. So whatever these bandits or Boko Haram or whatever they're doing to those children is exploitation. Either they want to collect ransom on the children, and most times they even rape them. So that's a direct benefit they're collecting from their illegal act. So that in itself is child trafficking, because they take these girls into custody and then they rape them, they do all sorts. In fact, sometimes even the criminals, the bandits and the Boko Haram, they even get married to the girls, the children. They get married to them. That's child marriage in itself. That's trafficking. It has all the elements of trafficking right there.
Okay, it's well. I just hope and pray that God can help us overcome this issue, this trafficking thing. Most people don't really know about it, or we know about it. We just don't know it is really in existence, like it is really, 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 really going on different massively. All right, let's on a lighter note, you recently received Africa's Most Outstanding NGO Founder of the Year award. Can you share a little of that with us and the caliber of people you actually contested with and why you decided to fight child trafficking or trafficking as a whole?
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much for that question. It brings me so much joy that the work that we do is being recognized internationally. It brings me so much joy because we put in so many hours, so many resources and everything to just fight child trafficking and human trafficking. So it was a great honor when I got the notice that my organization has been nominated as Africa's best leading NGO. So among that group, there were nominees such as Tonta Dike, the actress, and then Prince Ned Nwoko, and the Senator Rochas Okorocha, and I think the former Vice President of Nigeria, Atiku as well. These are people that have actually done, aside from their political career, they've done a lot for humanity as well. They run different non-profits, they help the vulnerable communities and all of that.
And they have the wherewithal to,
Pardon?
they have the wherewithal to actually pull it
Yeah.
through.
Exactly. So we just I'm really, really grateful for that award because we're awarded, and yes, I'm very, very grateful for that award. And that just kind of like encouraged me to just keep doing the work that I'm doing and not to give up. Because running a non-profit is no joke. It's not easy. There are times when I wanted to give up, and there are some really, really tough cases. In fact, in the past I've had to run out of my house with just a handbag because I was running away from traffickers, where I helped some victims of human trafficking that were kind of like being sexually exploited. And I had to go report the case to the police and all of that. I've had to run away from my house. I lost my job. I lost my properties. I lost everything because of this fight against human trafficking. So to have been recognized for my work and the things that I do, it was really, really a blessing.
And we thank God for that. Greater heights by the special grace of God. So finally, what would you like to say to everyone out there who don't know that child trafficking or human trafficking is really the game in the game, is really, 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 really trolling? And also for parents who feel the only way they can survive is to put their child out there to do all sort of work so that they can survive.
Thank you so much for that question. We have this quote we always say, and that our lives begin to end the day we decide to, the day we become silent about the things that matter. So trafficking is not just only just merely keeping quiet about it, even when you see it. You're also a trafficker. So it's better to speak up when we see these situations. They're right around us. They are right there. Our church members, some of them are traffickers. Our neighbors, some of them are traffickers. So when we see this situation, let's speak. You can save a child's life. Don't keep quiet because the trafficker is your friend or something. Don't keep quiet. And as for the parents, it is wrong. A child below 14 years is not even supposed to work. Try to look for some other means of survival without exploiting your children. So that's, if we all have to put hands together and fight trafficking. It's not only for the activists and the social workers, and no, everybody has to put hands together to fight this thing, because it seems like it's not real. It seems like it's very far away from us, but no, we don't know who the next victim is going to be. It could be our cousins, it could be our sisters, it could be our family members, it could be anybody, it could be our own children. So we have to speak against it and join hands together to fight human trafficking.
Thank you so, so much, Joy. It's been wonderful having you on the show. And to you out there, thank you for always watching Let's Talk. Until next time, I remain Olujoke. But remember, we all work together. We should all work together to end child trafficking or minimize child trafficking. Bye for now.